Hello, everyone. I wanted to share a summary of an article I wrote a few months back regarding weakness in Western education. It was an article for the American Spectator, and it's titled Making Western Students Strong Again. I'd like to share some of the points here for students and teachers who might be interested in thinking about ways to help students become stronger in order to face the challenges that they will encounter in the future. If you like this article or the ideas expressed here, please go to the description and you will see a link to the article. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you would like to hear and read more articles like this. I begin the article by saying a soul-crushing weakness has crept into Western education in the past 2 decades that has increased student anxiety and depression and decimated basic skills. So a lot of the points here are directed toward helping students relieve some depression, gain some self-confidence and strength, and also improve their basic skill level. I say despite this problem that exists in Western education, there are a few things we can do. Firstly, I think what we can do is address an important issue not only for young people, but I think for Westerners, especially Americans as a whole, and that's meaninglessness, kind of filling the void, or what some people call the God-shaped hole in our souls, that I say sometimes it's really hard to fill those with frappuccinos and lattes and cookies, like a lot of Americans try to do if you look at the obesity level. I say firstly, they can address that issue, which is meaninglessness. That's no easy task. And I think you need to have teachers who understand theology, philosophy, and psychology, at least on a basic level, to help students confront this idea of this reality, I would say, of meaninglessness and pursue purpose and meaning in their lives. Right here, a little bit about, I think, some of the counterproductive things we're doing in education, including cults of safety, safe spaces, being kind, kindness weeks, all of these things that are empty complexity and really don't address the issue, and I think actually make the problem worse. Secondly, I think we need to help students tackle the question of being good. If I was a teenager and you told me to be good, I'd say, why be good? First of all, I'd say, what is good, right? What is good? Of course, it's defined differently by different cultures, and it's defined differently during different times of history. For example, I often ask my students, is killing good? And in some contexts, yes, killing seems to be good. It seems to be the right action, especially during wartime, especially to defeat nations that may be violating the rights or the human rights of others. Or if someone is attacking your family or attacking you, perhaps killing is good in that instance. And in this case, I ask students to take a look briefly at an introduction to Aristotle's ethics and also Carl Jung's integrating the shadow, understanding that within each one of us, as Conrad has said, and many others, of course, that a line runs through our hearts, dividing our hearts between good and evil, and good does not always prevail. On that note, I would ask students, in order to defeat evil, for example, to defeat the Nazi regime during World War II or the Soviet Union during the Cold War, is it necessary for us to be more evil than our enemies, competing evils, to use our evil for good, virtuous evil, perhaps we can say? I encourage students to harness their monsters inside them and turn their monsters to that virtuous good, virtuous monstrosity, you might say. It has been a stable force for peace and development in the Western world over the last couple hundreds of years. A third way I think that we can help students address this issue of weakness is just taking a quick look at evolution itself and asking students, how did they end up in the classroom that they are in now? Is it because their ancestors were weak? Is it because their ancestors had safe spaces? Is it because their ancestors were asked constantly how they were doing? I dare say no, right? I think that understanding what ancestors have gone through, understanding a little bit of the historical timeline, and even within the last 100 years, what humans have overcome and surmounted could give students a bit of confidence in realizing that they too, as humans, can overcome these challenges themselves. Lastly, I think on that note, we as educators for sure need to tell heroic stories. Not negation stories, not stories to tear down so much, but stories to build up and to build unity rather than division. There are many of these stories from the Renaissance down through today about human achievement, human progress. And if we just were even to take a look around our classrooms or around our societies in general, we would be amazed at the infrastructure and at the technology that we have. We're literally at our fingertips now as we progress further and further and further on the development of the human race. I end the article by just reminding teachers, especially, that it's vital to help students have a respect for humanity. As humans, students are part of the human race, and I think that if we teach that humans are somehow bad, right, that our history is bad, then how could they not then recognize themselves as being bad? The danger here is the apathetic loop that we see many students devolve into, and unfortunately teachers, which I think is very dangerous and a disgrace in many ways. This idea that the world's a terrible place, I'm a terrible person, and nothing can be done about it, that shirks responsibility of the individual immediately, right, and presents students with overwhelming anxiety. Of course, something can be done about it. But I say here in the article that it's not going to be done by a well-being campaign or a campaign of kindness. It will be done through a recognition that conflict and struggle and trying to improve ourselves every day, that's what's going to make students and teachers themselves stronger. Instead of asking, how are you, do you need a safe space, how can you be comfortable, we should be asking, what are you doing to make yourself stronger? Many times I introduce my students to a quote by William James to start a class. Need and struggle are what excite and inspire us. It's our moment of triumph that brings the void. We break down the words of that quote, of course, before delving into a discussion as to its merits, that the struggle uphill, the struggle and the conflict gives us some type of meaning and purpose and inspires positive emotion rather than the negative emotion sparked by constantly focusing on our feelings. So that's basically the article. If you like the summary, you can click on the link in the description. And of course, as always, please do hit the subscribe button if you'd like to hear more articles like this in the future. Thanks.